Okay. I'm gonna spend this video analyzing this area cup match. And this is gonna be a much longer video than what I'm used to doing because there is a lot to talk about in this single game because so much happens. And I think that it's good to look at this top level of gameplay and to understand the big differences between what happens at low level, like where I'm at, and what happens at this top level. So let's just get started. Um, I'll talk about the comps once they pull them up. Actually, I'll talk about it here. Right here, the decav is kind of hiding uh this weapon here, but this comp it's interesting. Uh, uh, it is decav, S blast, dualies, and pin. They kind of they kind of drop any kind of support shooter in favor of dualies, kind of filling that slot. Dualies is kind of used as the support shooter here. Um, so this is a very fight heavy comp. There, it can play at a very fast pace, and I think that's really interesting. Um, all these players are like above 3k XP in Tekaroga. These are mechanically some of the best players in the world. Uh, like it's insane the things they do. If you like, a lot of them stream. And if you go and look at their channels, I might link some of the channels for at least some of the players I know here. Because there's two of them that I do know. Uh, and they're really good to watch. Uh, and this comp is a bit more uh heavy on paint. They run Zinc Mini and Zap together. That's a lot of paint on this comp, along with 96, which does paint decently well, and RPD. Um, a lot of the fighting power is going to be focused on the 96 and the RPD. Their comp has significantly more range than the other team, but they're a much slower comp and much more and the painting weapons are not nearly as good at fighting as the other team. So opening up here, the Zap stays back to just paint for cooler. That makes sense. That Zap needs to heavily focus on painting where it can safely to keep up with pin. This is pre-patch, so this is before the pin nerfs. Zap has the main weakness of not being able to cycle cooler nearly as well as pencil is. If it wants to paint for cooler, it needs to put itself in some pretty dangerous situations. Um, Either that or they just toss bombs, and that severely uh lowers their ability to cycle cooler. What another notable thing is every single player on blue team has stealth jump. So, and we'll see this throughout the game. But if one player goes down, or one or two player goes down, rather than the rest of the team backing up or jumping back to spawn, they will try and sustain, and they'll try and just like give their teammates time to just jump back in. And I think that is a big difference between low level and this top level of gameplay. Is that teams are and players are much better at understanding the positions they can take to stay safe to allow their teammates to jump back in. Cooler is such a huge factor at this level of play that, and if you like look at it with an analytical perspective here and just see the effects of it, you will understand why it's practically required at this level. So right here at the start, because the zap has to stay back, so far, there it's not as bad because it's just the start, but they do basically have to play the 3v4 and wait for their zap to get here. While the rest of yellow team all just is able to get here. And right now, we see the decav on the left street. This is a very common place for decav to take. It's a area that if you're playing it right, it basically shuts down this like little drop in this ramp because decav is able to just threaten a one shot. You really have to be careful dealing with decav here, and the 96 is here to try and kind of shut it down and put pressure on the decav, stop them from taking this position. And the S-Blast moves into zone, being supported by the paint from the pin and the dualies. RPD is right here, trying to poke over this cover to keep the S-Blast at bay. And the dualies does throw a bomb over here to kind of like get the RPD to sort of back up, make it just chill out, and allow this S-Blast to be a little bit more safe. The S-Blast sees the 96 putting pressure on the decav, and so it chooses to rotate over here to support the decav with by threatening a burst bomb combo on the top left here on the snipe. So the 96 has to be very careful here. It doesn't have to give up snipe, but it does have to play around this S-Blast. It does really only get one shot at the burst bomb combo because it'll run out of ink pretty fast. I'm not sure what exactly this S-Blast is running for a build. But depending on how much subsaver they're running, they might not be able to like double burst bomb and just keep going for the burst bomb combo. They really only get one shot at it. The zap gets cooler here. So realistically, what a lot of low level players would do is they would just all rush this cooler. I think that it's probably being positioned on plat. So it probably you don't need to. So the 96 is able to, if the cooler is put onto plat, which I can just check. Yeah, it does. So the 96 is able to just slightly move over here, which it was going to do anyway to avoid the burst bomb combo. To get cooler here. So you don't have to like give up all of snipe to do that. Though the burst bomb combo or the S-Blast threatening the burst bomb combo on the snipe does allow the decav to move up a little bit. But you'll see that they kind of get painted out by the 96. The decav has to respect the 96's range and its paint a lot. So it's not really able to get anything done here. So it has to back up. The S-Blast rotates over to be back on zone. It's not really threatening anyone. It has a lot of range, but it's not gonna get a kill here. But it's also not like dying or anything. The only one threatening it is this RPD. S-Blast moves back over to try and threaten the 96 again. And still no specials. The only specials we've seen are cooler so far. No specials have been charged. And this is what makes analyzing this game really hard is I understand it for the spectator thing, but it kind of makes it really hard to understand what's going on in the game. Uh, if you're in the 96, you see everyone here is on the left. Uh, and you're in a pretty decent position to just kind of like put pressure onto these people or just paint. And they get the zone here. Your teammate goes down. Okay, if you're in the 96, you know that two teammates of yours have gone down. One of them just died on top of you, so your paints or your feet is painted. So you really have to be careful here. You either have to quickly retreat and try and sustain, or you need to jump out now. Jumping out here would probably lead to death. Uh, the mini does bubble here, so you see this and you know that you can kind of like take this position and be somewhat safe. And they do that. Oh, but it looks like, I think this is Decav or not. I'm not sure who that is. I think that was S Blast or Doolies. But the Decav dives the bubble and gets the splat on the mini and gets traded out by the 96. But in this position, if you're the 96, you have to jump out. Basically your entire team is down. The 96 plays with the idea of trying to sustain. They don't immediately jump out, but they do jump out now. Let me see how they're pretty close. They're almost at Kraken. Maybe if they could charge Kraken right there, they could get it and then use it to immediately initiate retake. But I don't know. Okay, so the 96 chooses to jump out here, which is a good decision. They need to have their Kraken for retake here. A lot of these specials that blue team has are not insanely good for retake. You got the whale from the 96 or for the Rapid Pro Deco and the Kraken for 96 to really just initiate retake here. But um but you have Cooler, which isn't really a retake special. You can't just throw it down and then press forward. That's not going to work. And you have Mini, who's, while Bubble is really good. It's not really good for initiating a retake. It is only really good if you already have taken space and you want to sustain that. And on this, the on the yellow side, the they have a they have a crab already, and they're all really close to a what's it called? To a booyah bomb. So what you'll see here on this retake is really the main difference between uh low level or not. I don't want to say it's the main difference, but this is a really good indication of high level play is the way they play their retake here. Uh, what you'll see is that the objective isn't to lock out the other team because they know they realistically won't be able to do that. But the objective is to just waste as much time as they possibly can, uh, and try and stay alive. We see the decav and the dualies drop right, or no, decav and S blast drop right here. The S blast is not in a bad position dropping right here. They know that they can pressure the right court here, uh, very easily with with their big AOE and from their long range shots and burst bombs. And if they get really pressured, they're going to have a booyah bomb. So they can realistically play for life there. I'm not exactly sure why the decav drops there with them. It could just be to support them. I'm not sure. Um, we have the pen on the plat. I'm not sure exactly where the dualies is. They might be on zone painting. I'm not sure. I don't have an overhead view. They're on the zone. So we have two players drop into court, the 96 and the Rapid Pro. The Rapid is able to pretty easily pressure the left pit with AoE, long range AoEs pretty safely. And the 96 is pushing forward. They see that two of their best fighters are in the pit, so they can pretty easily take space. I think the 96 is already in Kraken. So they don't waste any time setting up their retake. Like setting up their retake. They have the two support painting weapons on the top left, very safe from any danger. And with the 96 using Kraken here, the other team immediately sees that they need to give up some space. They know that this thing's either going to kill you or you need to like give up some space. The decav here chooses to shark here, and there's actually a really interesting thing that S-Boss does. They see the decav sharking here. They know it's sharking here, and they just choose to throw a burst bomb. It's such a small decision, but it clearly it's a sign of really good coordination and understanding of what your teammates are doing and what the state of the game is. The decav here is looking possibly to get a pick on the mini, or realistically the mini would be a high value, the highest value target here, or maybe the RPD, because the mini's going to get bubble soon, and you don't really want that. The RPD does have whale, but whale I feel like isn't as high value. If you want to get a pick on someone to take away their special for a little bit, the cooler is up. The mini will have cooler if it goes down. So you're not going to be taking away their special for too long. It's just for this retake. The 96 in this position is putting on a lot of pressure here. The Doolies clearly wants to crab right here. They want a crab right here right now, but they know that if they crab with the Kraken right here, they risk losing their crab's value entirely or dying. So you need to like be patient here. You need to wait out the Kraken and see what it does. The Kraken realistically wants to just return back to its team. It's taken the space it needs. It's forced the other team back onto their plat, and it knows that it's gotten what it needs to do done. So it just wants to not die on the Kraken ending. So they swim back, and the Dualies immediately recognizes this and says, "I can crab here." Um, the Decav tries to make a move here. They try to get a pick, but the Kraken finishes them before they can get anything done. This is a huge pick. You don't have anyone go down to the Decav, and you get a pick yourself. The Decav did not have cooler. They were sharking there. They knew that if they died, they weren't going to be able to come back fast. So seeing this, the S Blast chooses to Booyah Bomb to kind of hold some space here. This is a really good decision. Like, you see your teammate go down, you know that they want to be jumping back in, so you want to like create some space. You want to let them have the chance to jump back in safely. So you use the Booyah Bomb to sort of sustain and hold some space here and waste as much of their time as possible. Whales come out. They put a lot of pressure on the crab. Whale is really good into crab because it forces the crab to either move and give up high ground, or stop or move around and lose value entirely. The mini pushes up here and pops a bubble. And I believe, yep, the Booyah Bomb immediately drops right on top of the bubble and gets the pick on the mini here. But the rest of the team is in position to take advantage of that bubble. Even though it does shred very fast, it's taken space. And it allows the rest of the team to kind of position themselves in good positions or in good places. Like they get the plat back, and the RPD is in a good position to take an off angle on anyone that is right here, and they get the pick on the S Blast after it drops from the Booyah Bomb. The Dualies is here putting a lot of pressure on this RPD. If you're the RPD, you know you're in a really bad spot. Like, the Dualies is right here, and it threatens splatting you right now. And you're decently far away from the rest of your team with them being pressured by the pencil. And you're surrounded by their paint. What we see is really good movement from the RPD. They move behind this cover to protect themselves from the Dualies. And the 96 decides to back up. They see the Dualies, and they know that their target is the RPD. So the RPD right here is skirmishing for the 96, and as a result, the 96 gets the pick on the Dualies. At the same time, the Decav is returning to the fight. They just jumped back in. Right now it's just the Decav and the pin. Right now it's basically a 3v2. They lost the mini, but they have 3 up. They almost have zone control. And it's just the Decav and the pin. So they move in, they choose to get the zone. Getting zone is really important on this map because it's just so much paint control for your team. And in this position, the Decav is kind of forced into the right street. They have to be really careful. There's basically 3 people that have the range to impact, or 2 people that have the range to impact the Decav here on the right street. And the 96 is kind of moving into position as well. And you have to be worried about this. Zap like right on top of you. Decav is not very good at vertical play. It In this position, Zap is actually kind of in an advantageous state fighting wise against this Decav. But the RPD doesn't really focus on this decav. It decides to kind of poke at the pin and the S blast that jumped in, and the decav has to fight this zap still. But the 96 doesn't really have an angle on the decav right now. The zap knows that in this position it just needs to like stay alive for the decav for the 96 to get into position to take an angle on this decav. And it did. So the 96 drops here to try and take a fight with this decav. And the S Blast at the same time finds a pick on the mini. I don't think the mini had cooler at this point. I'm not sure. I don't see the particle effects. I don't think it had a cooler. So the mini goes down, but your dualies still hasn't come back yet. They're still not. The dualies isn't online yet, and so it's just and the pin is backing up. So it's basically right now just S Blast and Decav that are actively doing anything right now, and they're so far apart that it's really just it is two 2v2s or 2v1s, and you have to be really scared. Well, it's actually 1v1 now with the RPD, since the S Blast took out the mini. RPD does have the range to just poke at this S Blast, and it really can't do anything in return. So even though the S Blast finds the pick on the mini, it's not that big of a deal. Like you don't want to lose that bubble charge, and obviously you would rather not die, but it's not like it's the end of the world. And the 96 does drop and finds the pick on the decav. So now it's a 3v1 versus this S Blast, because it's not really in a good position to get support from the pin. It chooses, instead of jumping out, it chooses to just take a position where it knows that S Blast can be really threatening. A lot of other players would just jump out here, but they see that they have their dualies jumping to them, and they choose to take a position that they know that they can sustain. Like they have a decent, not a ton of paint, but they have enough to maneuver around this cover, and they know that S Blast is able to just pop up and down here, and they're able to just threaten big AoEs, and they can't really get pushed here. You have to be You have to basically respect this if you're the blue team right now. And they find the pick on the RPD, but at the same time the dualies goes down immediately on his jump in. So it is a trade, and I got the feeling that it's more valuable to take out the RPD than the dualies here. Even though the dualies does go down, I think that taking out the RPD is more valuable. And in this position, you're basically pinching this 96 with not only yourself, but the pin and the decav that are here. I believe the zap might be on the left street behind them. So I think that overall this is a bad position for the S Blast, or maybe I don't know. I don't know where the zap is. But if you can find this pick onto the 96, that completely shifts this team fight, and it basically guarantees the win for yellow team here. But the 96 turns around, takes the fight with the S Blast, and finds the pick. In this position, 96 now has Kraken, and you have to be you know that they're gonna have it for the next fight that happens. But it does go down to the pin. I'm not sure if they were coolered. I don't think they were, because they didn't come back very fast. In this position is basically just, it's not even basically, it just is this Zap and the Mini versus the pin and the decav. The dualies is likely jumping in here. They're probably jumping to either the pin or the decav. So it's gonna quickly be a 3v2. Pin is likely gonna move over to plat here, and the decav is gonna probably take a position on zone or the left street here. So the Zap decides to just move off of zone if it doesn't want to die on zone, and the Mini just chooses to try and contest paint. The dualies jumps into the pin. It is now a 3v2, and the Mini and the Zap decide to just play safe and give jumps for the two that went down. The decav moves in here, and it gets bubble up. Because the 96 went down without cooler, and so did the RPD, they don't have anything to really counteract this bubble. They don't have a Kraken to dive it, and they don't have whales to force anyone out of the bubble. So that's a highlight of the main weakness of Zap, because it wasn't able to really cycle coolers enough. And as a result, two players with high value specials went down without being able to keep their special. That this is like really the main reason Zap is not the best cooler option, and you only really run it. And I believe later on in the set they switch off a Zap and run Edit RPD, which I think is the right decision, comp wise. It's just really, really hard for Zap to continue to cooler cycle when it has to put itself in dangerous positions. So, as a result, the decav gets to just take this space for free. Or not for free, you have to give up the bubble. But this bubble basically guarantees they take zone, and it forces the other team to respect this space. S-Blast is, as a result, the S-Blast is able to take the snipe here. This is a very threatening position for S-Blast to be in. It threatens one-shots with the directs, and pretty much all over the snipe. It has the range to hit a direct, I think. And then there's the dualies and the, what's it called? The pin on the right street, painting up. Remember, the dualies is effectively a support here. And they're supporting the decav on the right street, allowing it to really take this very threatening position where it can possibly threaten combos on anyone here. But I believe, okay, the decav goes down. It gets taken out by the RPD here, or the Mini, I'm not sure. So this is a pretty big pick. And I believe that the rest of the team should realize this. The Zap is already in a good position to help support taking plat from this S-Blast. And this bomb that's right here stops the dualies from trying to move on to plat to support the S-Blast. So I believe that the S-Blast just has to back up here. And I believe it jumps. It does jump. So that, without any specials used, blue team was able to take the plat back. And now because the S-Blast is jumping, it's sort of out of play. And the decab is down. Mini takes the right street here. And I believe, yeah, it bubbles here. This is a lot of space that's just taken. And the dualies isn't... The only special that can really threaten bubble by shredding it fast is the crab. And dualies is not in a very great position to crab here. The zap is also on the left side. They're going to get pain control here. They're going to get the zone. There are two people jumping in to this dualies, and if this is played right, both of them should just go down because they're jumping right next to a bubble with a mini inside the bubble. Crab does come out at the same time as whale. Again, whale is really good into crab because it forces it to move. In this position, it loses the high ground. It forces it to lose a lot of value in the angles it has by just forcing it into this left street. On this jump, no one goes down. I believe that is the decav that has jumped in. Decav and the S-Blast that have jumped in. No, I'm not sure. It might just be the decav. But the decav has jumped in, and it is still alive. The S-Blast goes down. I think it was S-Blast going down. Let me look. S-Blast jumped. And I think that's Decab jumping in. Yeah, and S-Blast jumped again. It saw that it was being pressured, so it jumped again to either the dualies or the... It was the dualies. So there's two jumps right here. So all blue team has to do is camp these jumps, and they basically win this team fight. But they don't really get them. I think that... Yeah, the S-Blast does go down, but they don't find the splat onto the decab until later. They do find it eventually, though. So you have a crab that's not really threatening anything, and pin that's forced to back up, and you have zone control if you're blue team. All RPD has to do here is just threaten with AoEs on this crab. The zap, I feel like, kind of didn't need to do this. It didn't need to try and pressure here. It just, it could have just decided to stay safe and try and paint. And as a result, I don't think it had cooler either. No, it had cooler, I think. I'm not sure. We'll see later. So, the crab does find value here, despite it being forced into a really bad position. And the rest of his team going down. But the Kraken is used to finish off this, the dualies after its crab. S-Blast is back. Yeah. Zap did not have cooler. So that is another... That is just the weakness of Zap, is that if it dies or if it goes down, your cooler cycling is completely off. You're not really going to be able to get it back again. S-Blast is already back, and it drops into this left area trying to chase the 96 that has just climbed out of the pit. And the pin finds a pick onto the RPD. So even though they just had a really rough fight and they lost control of zone, they're already in a really good position to retake here without using any specials. The S-Blast jumps out. It realizes that it is not in a good spot to take a fight with this 96. So it just decides to jump out and reposition. S-Blast going down here would be really bad because the only special they have active is the Booyah Bomb. So right here, because they got the picks onto the on the Zap and the RPD, they are able to just freely take Plat back without using up any specials, and then they can use the Booyah Bomb here to force them out. So it was really important that it is really important that when you win a team fight, that you're able to win it cleanly. You need to be able to stay alive. Or if you go down, you have to have Cooler active. Because they didn't have to use any specials to take Plat back, and that opened them up with the position to... That opened them up with the option to use Booyah Bomb to retake zone. And put pressure onto their Plat. But right now, the RPD and the Zap should be back by now. And even though the decav goes down here, it gets the bubble off. And the S-Blast and the Dualies are both in really good positions to take advantage of that bubble. So you'd rather not go down if you're the decav here, but it's not the end of the world because two of your teammates are taking advantage of it and putting pressure on the enemy's Plat. They sort of position forward past the bubble, trying to push the advantage. But they don't really find anything, and the S-Blast has to jump out. The Dualies has to position back into the bubble. The Mini chooses to drop left here, try and paint up left street, or the right street here. Or, I guess from this perspective, the left street. And the S-Blast immediately recognizes this and starts putting pressure. They burst bomb this area, painting it, basically cutting off this exit for the Mini. And immediately, as soon as they get the paint for it, the crab, or the Dualies uses the crab. So the S-Blast, I think, finds they find the pick on the Mini and someone else. I believe maybe the Pin. I'm not sure. But the RPD also goes down. So it's just Zap and 96 here on the Plat being pressured by a crab. So, unlike what the decav did earlier, with the bubble being in a position to being put in a position for two of its teammates to take advantage of it, the Mini doesn't get that. It goes down with the RPD not really in a position to take advantage of it. Well, because it also went down. And the Zappin is on the right street here, being pressured by the crab, and the 96 is just on Plat. So it is a 3v4 right now. So the 96 just decides to back up and regroup with this team. The team had Cooler, so even though they went down, they're able to come back fast, and they have specials for the retake here. Rather than jumping back all the way back to spawn, the 96 recognizes that it can just sustain the spot it's in and not go down. And somehow how does the decav go down? Okay, the decav goes down, I believe, to the 96. So not only does the 96 recognize that it can take its position and be safe, but it can also threaten kills here. So the same position here, the Mini and the Zap both take this top left area, being able to paint into court. with the 96 and the RPD into core itself. So they don't choose. The yellow team doesn't choose to take plat. They see that they don't have numbers right now, and they see the Kraken. So they know they can't really take plat here. So they just decide to back up. They understand that trying to contest this is a waste of energy, and it's not worth the risk. The S-Blast is sharking here, and they grab Cooler after they see the Kraken move past it. This is really good decision making from the S-Blast. They know that they need to stay out of the line of sight for this Kraken. They need to be safe. So they grab Cooler, and then they move into Plat to threaten the two much weaker fighting weapons that are trying to paint up onto Plat. And the RPD is on Snipe here, not really able to threaten the S-Blast from here. But the Kraken does take space here. So it forces the dualies back. But on the Kraken ending, it does go down. So even though you used up your Kraken for space, it didn't work out. Sometimes, even though you use your specials, it just won't work out sometimes. And without any specials used from yellow team, they were able to kind of shut down this retake. Oh, this is a really scrappy situation. There's really no structure to this. And it really is just a mechanics thing from this point on. Because it is a 3v2 at this point. And the Zap and the Mini aren't really in positions to help each other. The Zap kind of moves over here. And the Mini sorta is in a position to help the Zap. But it's being pressured by this dually, so it needs to take the fight with the dualies. So it's basically two 1v1s right here, with the pin on being able to crossfire with the decav here. So the Mini finds the kill on the dualies. So it wins that 1v1. And the decav is pressuring the Zap. The Zap recognizes that it needs to get out of a position where the pin can take a shot on it. So it just moves into the street here. Kind of out of the range of the what's it called? Of the pin, and decides to take a 1v1 with the decav. Mini doesn't really help the Zap here. I'm not sure if this was a lack of communication, or if it was just a regular mistake, or if the Mini recognizes that it shouldn't really try and go help. But it instead needs to try and sustain here. It gets the bubble. Mini winning this 1v1 with the dualies is really important because it lets it get the bubble here. Bubble is really important. It gives jumps for any of the teammates that have gone down. It's been a while, so I think that the RPD and the 96 should be coming back soon. And it lets it stay safe from the pin, which is really the only threat at this point. The Zap finds a trade onto the decav, which is honestly not that bad considering the position they were in. And this is a lot better. Like, this is a pretty advantageous situation considering what happened earlier in this retake for the blue team. They lost the RPD and the 96 after not finding huge value with the Kraken, but they're able to sustain and bring it down to a 1v1 with the pin and the Mini, with the Mini having a bubble active and being able to give jumps to the rest of the team. 96 and RPD both jump in here, but also the pin gives jumps to the S Blast and the decav here. And Booyah Bomb comes out, shredding this bubble, but it's done what it's needed to do. It gave safe jumps to two of the teammates that went down, and it lets blue team kind of stay in this game, even though right now they're in a 3v4. So yellow team positions into this right street to try and force them out. They don't really want to just rush through zone and take the left plat. They know that the mini is here, and if they try and push past the mini or try and push into the mini, they're just going to get beamed by the 96 and the mini here. So they choose the right street here where they can play on more even level. And they have this, what's it called? This cover here to play around and be a bit more advantageous than trying to rush through zone to get plat here. And they also have the pin that's able to, from a very long range, be able to pane up on the right street. And right here, this is a pretty scary situation for the 96. A bomb just went off behind it, so they don't really have any paint behind them, and there's a decav in range for a one-shot right in front of them. But the 96 is able to find the splat. How did the S-Blast go down? Where did the S-Blast go? Oh, S-Blast was in the left street. I think that the 96 found the pick on the S-Blast. Pin is pressuring, but they have a wall up, so they're able to pretty safely sustain that spot. And they go 2 down, and they find 2 picks onto the S-Blast and the decav. So it is a 2v4 at this point. It is without any specials used. So that is one thing that is notable about this level of play, is that they don't really use specials as a crutch. You don't really need to spam specials in this game if you're good enough at the strong main weapons that exist. Like RPD and 96 are like, the 96 just got 2 kills. And 96 isn't even really one of the strongest main weapons in the game. It is still really good, like clearly. And it was able to sort of initiate a retake with just its main weapon and the use of wall. So this gives blue team the opportunity to take plat here. They are at a severe disadvantage, so they really need to find some picks on this hold in order to really sustain it. The yellow team has a crab ready, so they're realistically going to crab on this little block here to put pressure onto all of plat here and into a good bit of zone. So they crab here, and this basically shuts down any movement into plat from the yellow team, or from the blue team. And it allows the S-Blast and the decav probably to take plat here. The S-Blast takes plat, and it sees, and it forces the RPD to jump out, and there's a bomb on the jump. So the RPD goes down, along with the zap. How did the zap go down? Oh, Kraken goes out. Okay, I can't really see where the zap went down, but Kraken goes out from the 96 to try and sustain this push. Or this hold. So, even though RPD and zap go down, you still have the mini and the 96 in Kraken. So, in this position, the decav is super alone. They try and get the They try and get the mini, but they get beamed by the mini. This is really the matchup between decav and mini. Mini is able to pretty much beam it before it can get to the decav, or the decav can get to it. And if you're decav, you have to either respect it or be able to catch the mini off guard. So even though it is really bad that the Zap and the RPD go down, the Kraken allows blue team to kind of sustain here and like give jumps and allow the mini to get set up here. They get a bubble up, so they're, even though two of them go down, they don't immediately lose the team fight. They're able to sustain here. And they, after, did they use Booyah Bomb? No, they didn't even have Booyah Bomb. The S-Blast goes up, trying to, I'm not sure exactly why the S-Blast tries so hard to force this. They find a jump kill on the Zap. I'm not exactly sure why the Zap jumped in so far forward. Like, they had a safe jump to this mini here. But I don't know. It might have been a mistake. So S-Blast overextends here, and they go down for it. So, and Dooley's is, I wish that I could see where this Dooley's is going. The Dooley's drops into the pit here, and they're kind of disconnected from the rest of the team here. Blue team should see that. They can just take zone here. And they do. So they move in to try and like take plat. The 96 tries to take a position on the snipe here, but it goes down. I'm not sure exactly what they go down to. But blue team is still 3 up. It is a 3v3 here. And they have zone control, so they're going to try and just keep this for as long as they possibly can, even if the 96 went down. The decav chooses to bubble on plat just to secure plat, rather than try and get one set up on zone. So 2 bombs go onto the zone along with pen paint, and it's able to just immediately flip. S-Splat, so with again, this is, getting zone is so important on this map because it gives you so much paint control, and it allows you to move into pressure plat here. So as soon as the yellow team got plat here, or got zone, they immediately rush in. And they find the pick onto the mini, and S-Blast moves in, and they find another pick onto the 96. This is a lost team fight from blue team here. They really just need to like jump out and try and preserve the specials they have, because no one has cooler. I don't think yeah, the 96 goes down without cooler, and I think so does the mini. And the entirety of yellow team has cooler, so they understand that even if they go down, that they'll be able to jump back in immediately after and still have specials. And they have a crab ready for holding here. So even though the S-Blast goes down to the Zap here, it's going to be able to just jump back in with cooler. Jump back in because it had cooler, and it's going to have a Booyah Bomb very soon. It's at 85%. The S-Blast chooses to jump out to preserve the cooler. It was very close to cooler by this point, and it has it after it's jumped back. So they need to really work with what they have here. They're starting to run out of time here. Crab on this position is extremely strong. Uh, one thing that this team is really good at doing is understanding the state of the game and what they can get away with. Like this is such a you can't always just go here and crab after a fight win. Like if the 96 or the mini or the RPD was still up and in this court, the Dualies uh would not have been able to get a crab here. But because the RPD and the or I'm not sure where the RPD went. RPD does go down. So they're able to get a crab here, because they won that fight so well, and they're able to just sustain here. So in this position, blue team just has to wait out this crab. They really can't threaten it. They don't have any specials that are able to really threaten it, and they aren't in any positions where they can shoot around the crab to threaten a kill on the rider. So after the crab goes down, the 96 and the RPD drop into court, and they immediately get the pick on the dualies. Okay, so ooh, the playlist is about to end. We still got a lot to go. Um, so the dualies goes down, so it does give them the opportunity to sort of move forward. They have numbers advantage, but the S Blast does have Booyah Bomb to stall here, and it does choose to use it. So Booyah Bomb comes out here, but the 96 is in a very good spot to get a pick onto this decav. It doesn't though. The decav does get the one shot onto the 96. So you trade basically the dualies for the 96 here, which in a position where you need to take zone isn't very good. Because you really need the Kraken here. They use up whale. It doesn't really find too much value. But they are able to take the plat here with mini. Wait, no, that was that was Zap. Zap and mini take the plat here. And so they are able to find zone, but when the 96 comes back, it's not going to be close to Kraken. So 96 jumps into the snipe, and it's just trying to support here. They need to take the zone here. They do find when did those two go down? When did the decav go down? Okay, I guess the RPD found the pick onto the decav. So the mini and the zap push onto the S blast, and they find the pick on it. But even though they basically lose this team fight, they're in such a good position here because they've been able to stall for so long on that push. Like with the chain after chaining the crab to the Booyah Bomb, they were able to take that down so much. Like they were at 39 penalty when they started the crab. And after the crab and the Booyah Bomb, even though they lose plat, they've taken out their entire penalty. And they start gaining points. And the pin is able to sort of contest just to eke out a few more points. So even though they do lose the fight and they lose zone here, they still gained uh points from their special investment here. And the decav is coming back realistically with a bubble somewhat soon. Cooler comes up, so they take plat with Kraken. I guess it charges Kraken pretty fast. They are running a main, a special charge. Kraken comes out. They try to find a pick with the Kraken, but no one goes down. In this position, blue team really needs to find a good. They really need to find a good push here, or find a good hold here. They need to get some picks, and deny some specials. But Cooler just went up, and Crab is out. So it is not looking good here, and 20 seconds are left on the clock. Like, a big play needs to happen soon. So the 96 tries to drop onto the decav. Decav and get the pick, and deny the value from the bubble. But there is a Crab shooting at the 96 here. And they get painted over, and they just aren't able to find anything from it. So the decav is just here, and you can't really do anything about it now. And you've lost your 96. I'm not sure where the RPD is. I think it might be on Snipe. It drops from Snipe onto here. So you really can't afford to get another penalty here. You really, really need to sustain here, and you need to find some kills. But the 96 goes down. So you do continue to hold zone, and you get the bubble up. So, but they use the Booyah Bomb, and kind of negates any value from the bubble here. In this position, like, you're out of time. You have to keep painting. If you don't have zone control by time running out, you lose the game. So you have to paint, and that opens up. And like, if you're focusing on painting, you can't really fight. So that's the game. This was a very long video. But it was something that I think was very valuable, at least for me. And I hope that anyone that watches this sees like the differences between such a high level of gameplay versus something like low level or even high level. Because I think that the most notable thing I noticed was the awareness from these players, because they all understood the state of the game very well, and they were able to make good decisions based off of it. And I think a lot of that has to do with utilization of the UI. If you watch any of these players like when they stream, you'll notice that they open up the map constantly, and they all understand. They have such a deep understanding of each game state that they're able to make good decisions constantly. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I think it was a very interesting thing for me to make. I've been wanting to do more analytical stuff like this for a long time, and I hope you liked it. And if you did like it and want to see more, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.